Bama. Roy Moore hasn't lost. This is huge. Alabama isn't typically at the center of controversy and political scandal since it's a notoriously red state, but they have found themselves home to the most hotly debated senatorial election in decades. It's now gone on for 2 weeks since the Republican candidate Roy Moore found himself on the receiving end of dirty politics. This was brought on by his Democrat competitor and has flat out refused to concede because of it. His determination to expose all that has been wrongfully done to him, including allegations of sexual impropriety, seems to have paid off. The special election to replace newly appointed Trump cabinet member Jeff Sessions took another dark turn which could make Moore the winner once and for all. Turnabout is fair play, and Moore has just brought it on now at the end of his relentless pursuit to exonerate himself from all the fraud and allegations used against him, the most controversial senatorial election of our time. The Daily Mail reports. Republican Roy Moore, who lost a U.S. Senate race in a shocker after being accused of child molestation and other forms of sexual misconduct, has filed a lawsuit to try to stop Alabama from certifying Democrat Doug Jones as the winner. The court filing came about 14 hours ahead of Thursday's meeting of a state canvassing board to officially declare Jones the winner of the December 12 special election. Jones defeated Moore by about 20,000 votes. Moore's attorney wrote in the complaint filed late Wednesday that he believed there were irregularities during the election and said there should be a fraud investigation and eventually a new election. This is not a Republican or Democrat issue, as election integrity should matter to everyone, Moore said in a statement released Wednesday announcing the complaint. We call on Secretary of State Merrill to delay certification until there is a thorough investigation of what 3 independent election experts agree took place, election fraud sufficient to overturn the outcome of the election. Christian conservative Moore is a former judge who's lost dealt a stinging blow to President Donald Trump. The president had given Moore his full-throated support, and narrowed his party's control of Congress' upper house to 51-49. But Moore's campaign on Wednesday alleged it may have been rigged, meaning he won't ride his now famous horse Sassy into the sunset without a fight. The purpose of the complaint is to preserve evidence of potential election fraud and to postpone the certification of Alabama's special election by Secretary of State John Merrill until a thorough investigation of potential election fraud that improperly altered the outcome of this election, the statement said. Moore has every right to sue his detractors that scammed the system on multiple levels to lead to an unprecedented win for a Democrat in a deeply red state. This sends a clear message that Republicans can't and won't go down without a fight, and it's about time the Democrats are held accountable for their crimes. Prissy Holly previously reported for Freedom Daily on the extensive fraud in this Alabama race that's so much that it cannot go unnoticed, and Moore is making sure it doesn't. With that was a long list of excuses that liberals had to say that the results were unfairly going toward Moore. Just one example is an old standby: white supremacy. In the article, the website asserted that white supremacy was preventing black citizens from being able to take to the polls, that no doubt got the black populace fired up just in time to go cast their votes for Jones before the race ended. Here's a short excerpt of their ridiculous story, where they claim that white supremacists were requiring poor blacks from being able to vote because they were required to show an ID. Alabama has a long history of suppressing the votes dating back at least to 1901, when the state passed a new constitution whose main purpose was to deny African Americans the right to vote, they whined. In 2011, the Republican-controlled state legislature passed a law that all voters must have a photo ID, which immediately disenfranchised many rural and poor blacks. Alabama has been sending Republicans to Washington for a very long time, and Roy Moore, despite the allegations leveled against him, has been a much-loved Republican for a very long time. If you're still doubtful that Democrats would do anything to win, then you might want to check and see if there's any sand in your ears. And if you know that they would, you're just not sure if they did, maybe an investigation into these claims would clear all of that up. Good on Moore for bringing justice in a very unjust election that he should have won.